All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. We would like to welcome everyone to the North Carolina AHEC Practice Support webinar on Increased Joy in Your Workplace. This webinar is a part of the monthly North Carolina AHEC Practice Support Services Lunch and Learn webinar series. These webinars are held the last Wednesday of every month from 12 to 12:30. A quick reminder for everyone to please mute themselves. There will be some time at the end of today's webinar for questions and comments. For now, we're going to hand it off to Kelly Wiseman.
Hey, thank you, Danielle. I'm Kelly Wiseman. I am with the Wake AHEC Practice Support Team. And today I'm going to talk to you about creating joy in work. I'm really excited to present this to you. Most of the content from this presentation comes from the IHI white paper, Joy in Work. Also, Healthcare Leaders Media article was used in building this presentation. The full references will be found on the bibliography slide. So, why should an organization invest in joy in work? That's going to be the first thing we discuss today. So, in 2015, IHI did some research before creating this white paper, and they found that in 2015, one half of the physicians had reported symptoms of burnout, and 1/3 of the nurses sought another position after their first year with a healthcare organization. And, you know, in today's environment, with electronic health records and incentive programs and value-based care, these already stretched thin healthcare workers have been burdened with additional work. And so attrition rates are rising, absenteeism is increased, and you hear phrases like, I've got to get through the day, and I didn't have time for this and that in the healthcare environment today. So let's talk about the business case for investing in joy in work. So IHI outlined a lot of different things, but I thought it boiled down to what I call improvement of the 6 P's. So the first thing that joy in work improves is profits, and that's while decreasing cost, because staff are more engaged, and with staff being more engaged with joy in work, they perform better and quality metrics improve. Also, they found that professional productivity increases because the staff reported a sense of meaning and purpose, and this was associated with decreased attrition rates. And another thing that improved was the patient experience. Patient satisfaction surveys increased, and in addition, and very importantly, patient outcomes increased. And the protection of staff and patients and improved also. So there was an improvement shown in safety. So I'm not going to play this video for you, but I just wanted to talk to you about this. I have this really cool video here that shows why flight attendants tell us to put our oxygen mask on before we assist another person. And I thought this was a good illustration of why you want to invest in joy in work, because your staff members can't give what they don't have. So if they're not taken care of and not taking care of themselves, and the staff are not engaged, then it's difficult for them to provide good service to their patients and to be engaged with things like quality improvement to increase performance metrics. And so this is a good illustration because when you go to this YouTube video, it shows a guy that is in an airplane and he's oxygen deprived and he's trying to do a shape sorter, and he identifies the object he's trying to put in the shape sorter as a square, and it's actually a cross. So, and then they put oxygen on him and he can do it fine. So I thought it was a good illustration. When I used to work in the ICU, we would tell clients to go home, patient families, to go home and take care of themselves and make sure they ate well so that they would be able to help their patients when they could be more involved with the patient care, because we taught them that you can't help others if you're not taken care of first. So this is a way of investing in your staff and giving them the tools they need and the support they need to provide good patient care. And so one more reason, if that weren't enough, it also promotes a positive focus instead of focusing on gaps. So if you've worked with any sort of performance metrics and improvements, you're always looking for what has not been completed or what could be improved on. And it's typically something that's a negative that you're going to improve. So maybe you haven't been just charting it in the right place, but it's still not as much of a positive. This focuses on the positives and looks for what matters to staff members. And so it leads to creative solutions, both in how they want to improve joy in their practice, but also in more creative solutions to how they're going to improve performance metrics. And it also creates more, the staff came to healthcare usually because they're compassionate and dedicated healthcare providers, but with all that they have on them and being stretched so thin, a lot of times they'll lose their empathy. And so this helps them improve in that way also. And it brings meaning and purpose back to healthcare work, and it creates a culture of being joyful and systematically being able to improve the joy and the practice, and also or in the healthcare environment, and also relieve little annoyances that may have just gone on without being taken care of. So let's talk about how we get started. The first thing you need to do is we need to talk about is what IHI did. So the Institute of Health and Improvement, what they did was they had three different 90-day innovation projects, and the goal was just to design and test a framework for healthcare systems to improve joy in work. And they, of course, reviewed the literature on engagement, and they conducted 30 expert interviews based on their literature scan. And they interviewed both patients and organizations that were doing well within and outside of healthcare. And then they learned from 11 different health and healthcare systems how to improve joy in work as they participated in this 2-month prototype program, testing steps, refining the framework, and identifying ideas for improvement. And this is how they came up with their framework. So let's talk about what you will do practically. So if you are looking to improve joy in work, first you're going to need a senior leader champion. So I looked at the criteria and I sort of built a resume here. This person needs to be approachable and a good leader and understanding. They need to be able to address organizational issues brought by the ground level leaders and shared by the staff. They need to be able to bring it to the people who can make big changes if that's not able to be made at the ground level. So this person, you're going to need somebody who, like, let's say it's a physician group, one of the providers that the physician leaders respect and will listen to. And also, this person needs to be someone who encourages sharing information. And so they're looking for feedback from staff. They are open when a staff says they make mistakes. They're open to that, and they're when a staff makes questions, has questions, they don't humiliate them. You're looking for somebody who's encouraging for people to share. You want to make sure this person will ensure a safe, equitable, and fair environment. So they need to listen to everybody, not just a few people that they usually listen to. And so they need to be open-minded and open about who they'll listen to. And they need to be able to focus on the mission, vision, and values of the organization and make sure that the work is purposeful and meeting the goals of the mission, vision, and values of the organization. And they need to care about the staff and be able to enlist resources and not just do it all themselves, and foster unity and bring ideas from the staff to the decision-making table, and bring the staff to the decision-making table so that staff are incorporated into decisions. So that would be your senior leader. Now, your ground level leader, also, they're responsible for doing many of the same things, but one of them is building a good, diverse, and cohesive team, and fostering the daily work of the PDSAs and the measurements, and helping the staff create a work-life balance and balance in workloads, and identifying barriers to joy, and someone that also encourages sharing information and ensures equitable and fair environment and cares about staff also. So what would be the culture that you would need for this type of work? So the culture that you're trying to create is a culture that improves equity and fairness, and so that all staff members, regardless of differences in the person and also differences in position, feel satisfied, listened to, and that they can collaborate. And you want to make sure it's a diverse team that you're working with. And also, you need to have a safe environment so people feel free to speak up and bring up mistakes or bring up improvement ideas they may have, and create a safe space for that, so everyone's idea can be heard. And so the training well, first of all, the leaders are going to need more than just training. They're also going to need the time to improve joy in work. And this is not going to be something that, like when we're working with a performance measure, where you work with the measure until you get to a place that the process is in place and the work flows there and the metric is in place, and it sort of takes care of itself from then on out. You might have to check up on it every once in a while, but this is something like exercise that you're going to have to do every day. And so you're going to want to make sure that this person has dedicated time to improve joy in work, and also that they have training in some sort of science for improvement, like the model for improvement and PDSAs. And you need someone who'll be able to, and if they are not, just naturally good at this, some help with how to facilitate conversations to find out what's important to the staff. And they're also going to need to be empowered to make improvements, because timeliness is key here. The work up front is important because timeliness is key. They're going to need to be able to trust that when the staff are going to need to be able to trust that when suggestions are made, that things will be done in a timely manner and some work will be done on the topic. And it gives a reason for the employees to trust the employers and the leadership. It really demonstrates that the leaders are listening to them. So let's talk about how we're going to create the joy in work. It's a 4-step process. And so step 1 is first you need to figure out, what do they want? What do they need? And what will make their work better and what matters to them? That's what the team needs to be asked. So we have to facilitate that. And then also next will be, what little problems can be solved? And then step 3 is making a commitment to improving joy in work in all departments at all levels. And then step 4 is doing the test of change to improve joy in work. So let's talk about each of these steps in depth. So the first step is ask what is important to you and your work to your staff. So the leaders will come to the table and ask this. Maybe the ground level leader, maybe both, the ground level leader and the senior leader, and identify what is important to the staff and make sure the staff knows that you're listening and learning and understanding what they're saying. Now that may be that you need to write it on a whiteboard or you need to record it and post it somewhere, but staff need to feel heard. And you need to adopt the leader needs to adopt the attitude that we're all in this together. And so what we're really trying to do here is make more good days and less bad days, and also like identify what the bright spots are. So you need to identify what's going well so you can tack onto that and make more things go well. And then, like I said before, this is like exercise where you're going to need to continually improve and continually come back to this and ask questions. So one pro tip would be that not for the leader to get bogged down in thinking they have to fix all the things that are given as opportunities for improvement. That's not the case at all. The team needs to work to improve the ideas that are identified. So staff are going to be looking for something to be done and for work to be being done to make improvements, not necessarily that all their entire wish list is taken care of before the next time that you meet. So that's one pro tip. And then identifying, the second step is identifying barriers to work. So IHI identified this as the pebbles in their shoe. What can be done right here and right now to make their lives better? And what we're talking about is any sort of emotional, physiological, or social need that's not being met. So maybe every time they have to go to the parking lot, they feel unsafe. Like maybe there's something around that can be done, or maybe it's just a form that needs to be reworked, and it wouldn't take too much to get this done. But the identifying barriers to joy in work will be resolved with multidisciplinary teams that will share in the responsibility, because remember, we're all in this together. So, and it'll also help with the negative Nellies in the organization. There's always that person that says, oh, we can't get that done, we won't be able to do that. So those people will gain hope when they see that suggestions that were identified have been addressed, even if they're small little things that are easy to take care of. And then lead to this leads to positive engagement and what staff can do better to address the issues using the improvement tools. So step 3 is we're all in this together. Everyone contributes to Joanne work. It's not just one department, and it can't be delegated to just the practice manager or just one person. This is something for everyone to be responsible for. And so that's what the framework is that was created by IHI. And we'll look at that in just a moment. And then employees, just remember, employees cannot give what they do not have. And so here is the IHI framework for Joanne work. If you look here, it's a wheel of different components that can make happy, healthy, productive people. And if you'll notice, senior leaders are responsible for everything in the wheel, but managers and core leaders are responsible for 5 of the items, and individuals are responsible for 3. So let's talk about what individuals are responsible for. They're responsible for measurement or real-time measurement. So this is your daily, monthly measurement of how Joanne work is improving. So they need to give candid feedback in order to make this work. They're also responsible for wellness and resilience. And so that is making sure that they are well rested and taken care of. They're healthy. They're managing their stress. They're getting the help they need with mental health issues and things like that. And then there's also daily improvement, that they're working the model for improvement or using the improvement science to make regular improvements in their day and contributing in that way. So now core leaders are responsible for all the things we discussed, but they're also responsible for camaraderie and teamwork. So they are responsible for building the team and making the team cohesive, and for making the team productive and ensuring that there's trust in the relationships. They're also responsible for participative management, which is making sure that when decisions are made, that they're clear and a consensus has been reached before a decision is made, and that staff feel like their ideas were incorporated into the decisions, and that also that they were a part of making the decisions. And then senior leaders are responsible for all that, but they're also responsible for providing regular recognition when items are accomplished, and teams need to celebrate their outcomes. And they're responsible for choice and autonomy, which is making all staff feel a part, and that their feedback is valued, and they're a part of decisions in their daily work that include processes and changes and improvements that affect them. And they're also responsible for providing the direction, so the mission and purpose, in alignment with the mission, vision, values of the organization. They're responsible for making sure that the system organization goals are met. And finally, they're responsible for the psychological and physical safety of their staff members. So making sure that the staff have their needs are being met, as far as they have an environment where they feel like they can be safe to admit mistakes, provide feedback, give suggestions for improvement, brainstorm ideas, and also physical in providing a safe environment to work where they don't feel threatened. So all these things work together and all the different members of the staff are responsible for joy in work in this way. So step 4 is the model for improvement. Now this is what we use all the time to improve performance metrics. So first is to determine a measurable goal, a measurable aim with a measurable goal, and to be reached in a finite amount of time. So it needs a deadline. And so the steps are plan. The practice will brainstorm ideas, select a tested change to try. They'll try that small tested change in a small group for a small amount of time to see what works. And then they'll study it. They'll determine if anything unexpected happened and if the change was an improvement, and it'll decide whether or not to change it or tweak it. And then they'll act. They'll continue with the change or abandon it, and then add another tested change to improve more, and continue this cycle until they reach their goal. Now, I've added here on the Institute of Healthcare Improvement, there's a science improvement video that's good to watch. Actually, they have part of their website dedicated to this, and so there's more resources in that area. But if you click on this video, it gives you an 8-minute snapshot of doing a PDSA cycle. And so let's talk about measuring joy in work. So that is an issue because there's no NQF measure or validated measure or CMS measure that exists. So the organization may be looking for some sort of measure for data. They may have one available, like attrition rates, retention rates, or they might have a staff satisfaction survey they could use. But they might, if it's a large organization, they might want to do an annual evaluation of the organization, and then a local evaluation more frequently, like daily or monthly. At a small practice, you're probably going to want to do like daily or monthly or weekly look. And then the practice will need to measure and determine what they will measure, when they will measure it, and how often they will measure. And some ideas might be burnout, satisfaction, absenteeism, or joy to put on the survey. And they just need to measure the data regularly and see if to be able to determine if they're improving. And then the IHI has dedicated part of its website to joy in work. So if you click on this link, it will take you to that site so you can look at a couple of videos and the white paper and some other ideas. So are there any questions? I'm going to turn it to my bibliography page so you can see that.
Kelly, that was great. Thank you for sharing. This is Jessica, and I love the IHI resources.
Oh, thank you. All right.
All right, if we don't have any questions, I just want to say thank you to Kelly, and thanks everyone for joining us. We really appreciate it. A link will be sent with a survey in the next few days from CHEC, and your feedback is very valuable to us. So if you could fill that out, that would be wonderful. We're also going to send instructions about accessing the slides for today's presentation. Please note that continuing education credit was not offered today. And if you don't already follow North Carolina AHEC Practice Support, you can look us up on Facebook, Twitter, or check out our webpage at ncahec.net. I want to thank you all again for your participation, and I hope everyone has a wonderful afternoon.
Thank you.